Привет, товарищи, and welcome to my tips and tricks video for Grand Tactician Civil War. And this video is going to be focusing on the tactical battle map. And I finally went out and bought Grand Tactician Civil War after many of you recommended it to me after I mentioned that I was looking for a game that really gave me that feeling of being a general once again, kind of like the classic Total War games did. And I must say that this game at least hasn't disappointed. However, that brings me into my first tip for Grand Tactician, which is do not play this game like a Total War game. You will fail. So why won't you succeed if you play this game like a Total War game? Well, Grand Tactician has a couple of gameplay mechanics that are alien to the Total War series. Those being the order of battle mechanic and the order delay mechanic. So let me give you a couple of examples here. We're joining the Confederate forces in the Battle of the First Bull Run. And as you can see, if we zoom out, we have our forces kind of scattered about in various defensive positions. So let's say that I want to take this brigade under Colonel Philip George Cook to move over and take some cover over here by the river. So let's issue that order here. We're going to say OK. And we're going to notice that he's got a little timer here, meaning he's got an order delay. So he hasn't actually received the order to move up and take cover at the riverbed here. So as you can see, he is attached to his commander, who in this case happens to be none other than General Beauregard of the Army of the Potomac. So what this means is that in order to move this troop as we hit play, so as we can see, our general staff has dispatched a courier. We can see him running along here. And he is actually going to physically carry the order all the way up to Cook's brigade here. So if we go back down, we can see the courier. And we'll just speed it up so we can actually get sort of a sense of what's going on here and how long this actually takes if you don't have your troops in the proper position. So the courier will do his best to follow the roads and get there as fast as he possibly can. He'll get there a lot faster than regular troops, but as you can see, this is hardly ideal. He's finally here, and now the troopers receive the order, and he'll move up to the riverbed. Before we move on, let's just briefly touch on the order of battle system. Being an early battle in the Civil War, our order of battle trees are not very organized, so right now the entire Army of the Potomac is under the command of General Beauregard. And if I want to issue a command to the entire army, I need to select him. And for example, with him selected, I could move the entire army into position simultaneously with one order. Additionally, if I would like to command my troops to, say, one thing you should always do at the start of every battle is command your troops to engage in long range. Specifically, your infantry to engage at long range. And as you can see, Beauregard will start sending out couriers here to all of his troops. There you go. And this will inform them that they can now engage at long range. I don't know why long range is not the default. You should always have your infantry engage at long range. The AI will engage you at long range, and there's no reason for you not to follow suit. So just be aware that if you are just selecting, for example, just one unit, we've got Holmes's 8th Brigade here, and I, for example, want to have him change to medium range. The order will come from Beauregard, and they will tell him to engage at medium range. However, only the 8th Brigade will be engaging at medium range. The 3rd Brigade will still engage at long range. One of the things that comes with great risk in Grand Tactician is sort of grand flanking maneuvers with one unit. If you're going to engage in a grand flanking maneuver, you're going to want to send at least a divisional commander. For example, let's say we are going to send Jackson here up to defend Matthews Hill. Not only is this order going to take him a long time to execute, but because he's coming all the way from down here, But once he actually gets to his position, he's not going to be able to respond adequately because his commander's not here. So if he needs to move, if he needs to change formation, he won't be able to do it. He'll be stuck there until the courier is able to deliver new orders all the way from down here. And if you want to, say for example, move your commander closer to your troops so he can issue orders faster, all you need to do is select your commander and hold the Alt key, and this will allow your commander to move individually. So before we move on to the next tip, I just wanted to show you guys a little bit more organized order of battle. For example, right here, this is the Battle of Antietam on the Union side. You can see the entire Army of the Potomac is under the command of George McClellan, and then he has various corps under his command. So the first corps is under the command of Joseph Hooker, and if I want to command his entire corps to do something, I just need to click on him and then make the order. If I want his entire corps to, for example, skirmish or engage at medium range, I can do that through him. If I want to break off a division to go take a position, I can either click on the 2nd Division HQ right here, or I can go through the order of battle, and I can peel him off and give him a different order. Let's say I want him to hold this position, and I can easily do that. So understanding the order of battle system allows you to kind of micromanage your troops in a way that will make sense to you, and also allow you to give orders kind of on the scale that you need to. When the battle actually starts to happen, you're going to want to zoom in and probably micromanage your divisions. However, when you're setting things up, you're going to want to zoom out and command your corps and divisions on a higher scale. The next tip I've got for you guys is make sure you're understanding your quick commands. So we're joining the Confederate forces here at the Battle of Olustee. So as you'll notice, every time you issue a command to a unit, you'll notice this sort of gold icon appear. When you hover over that, that will bring up your quick command menu. So you've got a couple of different options here. You can have your troops move at a signal, you can have them move at a specific time, but the most important ones, in my opinion, are these 4 right here. So let's say we've got the Union forces pushing hard over here, but we've got one sort of isolated brigade, and let's say I want to pressure this brigade and get them moved out. The best way to do that would be through the use of these quick commands. Let me show you what happens if I just, for example, let's have this unit, we'll send him out, we'll just have him move forward normally. We'll click issue order, click the command, and then we'll see what happens here. Let's speed up. You'll see he moves out. Well, what will happen is you'll get a notification here, and it'll say Crawford in contact. My regiment has made contact with enemy troops from the regiment of Captain Skinner. While following your orders, I'm deploying my command ready for battle and awaiting for your orders. So if I issue him an order to move up, he won't do it. He will find the enemy and then wait for further orders. Of course, he's still going to engage the enemy, and we can see what his target is right now. But let's say he is, I want him to move into that position. He's too far away. I want him to move closer. The way you would do this is you would issue the command, you'd go over your quick command menu here, and you'd issue the order to advance. And one of the nice things here is you heard the little bugle call. When you have a unit that is in range of his commander's bugle, you'll see the range here, this little kind of squiggly line with the bugle in it. That means he can actually issue the order instantly. He doesn't need to send out a courier to do that. So that's just a little piece of advice for you guys. Make sure if you want to issue commands quickly and more effectively, try as much as possible to maintain your troops in the bugle command range of his supervisor, of his direct superior. So anyway, we've issued the advance command, and as you can see, our troops are advancing to their designated position in a slow and orderly fashion, while at the same time taking pot shots on the enemies who are also ahead of them. See, there you go. They're taking pot shots and moving forward in a nice orderly fashion. So if you want to get your troops into a specific position, this is the way to do it. You use the advance command here. We'll do that with all of our brigades right now. And just send them forward. And away they go. So while those troops are advancing, let me show you the charge command. The charge command is similar to the advance command. However, when you give it, your troops will run as fast as they can to the area where you have given the charge command. So let's say I want to take Holland's division here, and I want him to charge in behind cover. I just want him to go there as fast as he can, not worrying about fighting any of the enemies. Just get there, and then he can do his thing. I'll hit the charge command. There he goes, moves out instantly. And he is just going to charge as fast as he can and get behind this cover here. He's not going to engage any troops, even though you can see he is getting close to the point where he could engage. He is going to refrain from doing so. So charge is a great command if you need to get your troops into cover quickly and you don't want them to bother wasting time slowly moving forward. Now I can see that we've got a considerable amount of Union reinforcements coming down this road. Let's say now I've got these guys in a position that I don't want them to be in. I want them to come back and let's say we'll just have them retake position behind this fence here and gain a little bit of cover. If I want them to do that, the best move for me would be the fall back command. It is basically the advance command in reverse, where once I issue it, they will slowly and orderly move back towards their position. So let's issue that order for the entirety of our troops. However, because they do need to do a brief turnaround, they may actually fall victim to a rout just because of that. And for example, if I wanted them just to run away without worrying about falling back in an orderly fashion, I would just issue the retreat command, which is the opposite of the charge command. They will just run away as fast as they can, not worrying about any enemies. So let's give that order, and as you can see, our troops have made the about face, and they're falling back in an orderly fashion while giving the enemy fire at the same time. They're doing a fine job holding the enemy at bay here. They just deployed their cannons right in front of us for some reason. And as you can see, our forces have moved calmly and safely back behind this fence without taking too much morale damage. They're all very eager, it looks like, to continue the fight. And now they can continue it from a position where they actually have some cover to give them a slight advantage. So the last thing I'm going to show you here is, we're not doing very well in this battle. It's okay. So let's say I want to just send my troops on some sort of hopeful suicide charge. Maybe we can have them come around behind and make the Union soldiers flee. All I want to do for this glorious charge is I'll select my cavalry troop here. I'll hold Alt. You'll see the sabers appear above the enemy's head. I right click. I'll issue the command. We'll do it to a couple of these guys here. And let's see if the glorious cavalry charge will get anything done. One thing I've noticed is that melee combat is not very effective in this game. And melee charges, unless you're like getting in right behind the enemy and your troops have extraordinarily high morale, it's not always the best thing to do. So as you can see, we're getting in here, we're doing some damage, but I think we're probably going to be forced back. The last thing I'm going to show you for this tip is the range of your quick commands. We're back here at Bull Run, this time on the Union side. Let's say I want to take Burnside and just have them advance to Matthews Hill right here. You'll notice that I don't have access to these quick commands. The reason I don't have access is because these commands are outside his commander's radius. So for example, if I want to rather issue the order here, right at the edge of this blue radius here, I can't do it. But if I want to issue it with inside the radius, as you can see, I have access to those commands. So that's, if you're wondering why you're not able to give those commands and why it's not showing up for you, your troops probably aren't in this blue radius here, the solid blue line all the way around the divisional commander, and that means that you can't actually access the quick commands. Alright, the next tip I have for you guys is read the map before deploying your troops, because it can give you a pretty good idea of the best position to deploy your forces in. So here we're at the Battle of Lynchburg, and I am defending this city against a Confederate attack. Right now I have the Department of the Ohio under the command of George B. McClellan, and as you can see here, he's positioned over here towards the western end of the map. And what I mean by read the map here is you can see that there are various arrows around the edge. We can see this red arrow is where our Confederate forces will be attacking us from. We can look around. We can see that there are no other arrows. So we can make a very obvious assumption: the forces are going to deploy right here. So now we know where the enemy is coming from. We can look at our objectives and see that we have two objectives, and because we're defending, we have them both occupied. We have the Appomattox Station and Clover Hill. If we zoom in here, we can see Clover Hill is right here, right at the edge of our deployment zone. This blue line represents the edge of our deployment zone. So given that fact, we can look up here and see that the Confederates are probably going to take this road right down here and come out right here at Clover Hill and probably attack us here. We can make the educated assumption that we don't need to leave any forces, or maybe only one brigade here, to defend the station. Now with that in mind, we can zoom in here and we can see that we've got a lot of good defensive positions here around Clover Hill. We've got a nice hill here that we can deploy our artillery on if we would like. There we go. We'll grab the second battery here. We can position them on this hill. And wow, would you look at that. Here come the Confederates marching right down the road that I thought they would. And as you can see, we've got our troops in a pretty decent defensive position here. So I don't imagine that they're going to be very successful in their attack. So as you can see, that's a pretty good illustration of the point I'm trying to make, especially when you consider that this particular battle we are fighting. Oops, let me bring out our briefing here. We're only fighting one army under the command of P.G.T. Beauregard, and because of that, we can make the assumption there's no other reinforcing Confederate forces, so we can abandon this position completely. The Confederates probably won't try and attack it, and we can commit all our forces to the defense of Clover Hill. So the next, and honestly maybe the most helpful tip you guys will get from this video, is don't forget to use your skirmishers and your scouts, but skirmishers most importantly. So let me show you what I mean. Right now we're defending this river line against a Confederate attack, and as you can see, you've got a detachment of Confederate troops. So what they have done actually is detached a small unit of troops away from the larger one and sent it to harass my men who have taken cover behind this riverbed. And you can see that another Confederate force has done the same. So in response, what I'm going to do is send forth my own skirmishers. As you can see, it's a very easy process. All you need to do is click your infantry and you click skirmishers, and you'll see a little brigade come out and a chain attached to the larger brigade that the skirmish unit was originated from. So skirmishers are excellent. They have longer range than your normal brigades, so they can do a wide variety of different things. So they can fire at enemies from a distance. If your guys like mine were hiding behind cover, you can send your skirmishers to harass them and make sure that they aren't just sitting there behind cover. They're still bleeding out. They're losing men slowly but surely. You can send out your skirmishers to increase your firepower. Basically, you double the firepower of any units that you have with skirmishers, because you can basically send out more muskets to do more work. And there's absolutely no drawback to sending out skirmishers, because if they get forced back, all that happens is they just rejoin their detachment, and the detachment will have a little bit of a morale debuff, but that will be it. And then a little bit later, you can resend your skirmishers out to once again harass the enemy. One of the great things I find about skirmishers is that they're actually excellent counters to artillery, because they can usually shoot at artillery outside the range of their canister shot. And this is what this artillery is trying to do. It's trying to get close enough to my skirmishers that it can use the canister shot. There it goes. But there was a hill in front of it. However, as you can see, it's taken a substantial amount of casualties on its way over, and it's already routing, or considering routing. So you'll find that if you send your troops straight forward into artillery, they'll easily get routed by the canister shot. And this can even happen with cavalry. You can send your cavalry to attack the artillery, and if they don't get there fast enough, the artillery can wheel around and fire off a couple canister shots and do some serious damage to your cavalry. The nice thing here is that because your skirmishers are loosely in a loose formation, even if the artillery does get up into our face like it is right now, our skirmishers really aren't taking that much damage, all things considered. And I'm very confident that these skirmishers will be able to force this artillery off the hill, which will be a very big win for us. As you can see, my skirmishers have been able to rout the artillery battalion, and now they are going to leave their cannons here on the field for us. Once again, like I said, a huge win. Skirmishers are just so cost effective. It's crazy. I would say that they're borderline OP, and if we're even lucky, our skirmishers are going to force another entire Confederate battalion of infantry to retreat. But while I sit here and talk about skirmishers, let me show you the cousin to skirmishers, which are scout detachments. Cavalry can issue out these scout detachments, which, like skirmishers, act as sort of little independent units. You can send them forward, and the nicest thing is that obviously they have increased range, so they can see what's going on a lot easier than the rest of your troops. But what I'm going to try and do is send these guys out here. So with the scout detachment, you can easily use them I like to use them to basically force infantry to wheel around to respond to the scouts. I don't even really use them to attack that much, but as you can see, we're forcing the Confederates here to respond to our cavalry moving along the side. They're trying to fall back and find a better position. Without the use of skirmishers, the Confederates would have easily been able to deploy their forces on this hill, been able to shell our troops in their defensive positions with their artillery, and the battle would have been much more difficult. However, our skirmishers were able to turn the tables on the Confederates and basically take this hill from them before they were able to do anything. Alright, and the last tip I have for you guys today is that defense is king, and you should, as much as possible, strive to have the enemy attack you in defensive positions, and as much as possible avoid attacking the enemy's defenses directly. And on a side note, I guess the subheading to this tip is, don't forget to build your defenses whenever you can. When it comes to defenses, you have two types that you can deploy. These breastworks, which you can see over here, are like these little fences, and then you have parapets, which resemble trenches. So at the start of every deployment phase, you have an opportunity to build these defenses. And of course, these deployment phases happen at the start of every day. We're currently on the second day of the Battle of Richmond. This is one of my campaigns that I'm playing right now. We've taken Richmond, and the Confederates are trying to retake it. So I've got numerous reinforcements trying to come in here and reinforce our armies here defending this position. So if you want to build defenses, it's kind of a weird control scheme. So let's say I want to build some parapets across here. Maybe I want to put some troops in defensive positions on the top of this hill. So first you right click, and then you have to make sure you get a point where everything is visible, because if you get it when it's red like this, it won't build. So here we go, perfect. And then we right click again, and then we left click, and there's our parapets. And the amount of defenses we can build is based on our engineering points, which are determined on a number of different factors. But don't forget, these parapets also come with a nice little bonus, which is that you can upgrade them. So you just keep right clicking, and then you can see our parapets now look significantly more fearsome. Breastworks are a similar process. Let's say I'm going to build some breastworks at the top of this hill. Right click, make sure you get it nice and solid. Right click again, and then for example, if I want to build it out further, right click, and then when I'm done, hit left click, and then you can see I've built a nice breastwork here around the church. So we can see the Confederates are moving up the hill here. They're trying to attack the church, but they're at a severe disadvantage. They're already wavering. It's looking pretty grim for them. But our troops are in a fantastic position here. Well entrenched in their cover, and they're able to just continually shell these guys until they either leave or attack, and either way it's going to result in a victory for us because we hold the victory points. So the last thing I want to show you guys is what you should do when you're having to attack a position. So even though I don't have to attack these Confederates, they're in a nice little defensive position here. The one thing you don't want to do, like I mentioned at the start of this tip, is just attack with a frontal attack. The enemy is very susceptible to being flanked. So let's say I want to get these guys out of this position that they're in. I'm going to order my infantry on the flank here to advance. I'm also probably going to have some troops advance in the center here. So rather than attacking head on here, we've moved into the flank. And usually what this will do is force, there you go, that's what I was looking for, is usually it'll force the enemy troops to wheel around and attack who's ever flanking them, which now leaves them open to the troops that are attacking them from the front. Usually you want to attack those defended positions with skirmishers because, like I said, they can outrange the entrenched defenders. So now these Confederates are pretty screwed. And I can end this video with a great shot of the Confederates advancing on my advanced upgraded parapets. And that's really all I've got for this video, guys. So I want to thank you for watching. This has been Comrade signing off for now. And I hope you found these tips interesting and enjoyable, informative at least, and that they'll help you navigate the complicated systems of Grand Tactician Civil War. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. I'll be happy to make a tips video for the strategic map mode as well. And with that, this has been Comrade signing off, and I'll see you guys next time.